Hi, everybody. First of all, I want to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to participate in this valuable event, which brought us together from global perspective, scientists, researchers, industry policymakers from several countries and professional backgrounds to exchange ideas, advance knowledge, and discuss key issues for nursing. My name is Professor Eman Salman Taie. I'm Professor of Nursing Administration at Faculty of Nursing, Helwan University, Cairo, Egypt. My specialty is nursing administration and my research interest is nursing education and nursing administration. Actually, I have more than 20 research articles internationally published and 3 international boxes. My presentation today is Emerging of Servant Leadership in Healthcare. My agenda for this presentation, first of all, origins of the concept of servant leader, who is the servant leader, comparison between servant leader and traditional leader, why servant leaders are emerging in healthcare, characteristics of servant leadership, paradoxes of servant leaders, criteria for companies to practice servant leadership, benefits of servant leadership, pros and cons of servant leaders. The origins. The concept of servant leadership is thousands of years old. It was started 600 before century by Leo. He stated that the greatest leader forgets himself and attends to the development of others. Then Chankasias in 375 years before century stated that the leader shall consider God, not what pleases himself, but what pleases his subjects. Then in 1st century, Jesus stated, the one who is the greatest among you must become like the youngest and the leader like the servant. Robert Greenleaf, largely considered the father of modern servant leadership, he stated that the servant leader is a servant first. It begins with the natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Post Greenleaf, Larry Kim, he was the president of Greenleaf Center for 25 years. He was the author of hundreds of publications on servant leadership. Then James, president of Magazine Group of Murdereth Corporation, the author of 8 books and focuses on implementation. While James, 25 years in servant leadership, he had 2 of the most popular books on servant leadership. Post them, others came as Stephen Covey and Jim Collins. So, who is the servant leader? Servant leader is servant first. It begins with a natural feeling that one wants to serve first. Then conscious choice brings one to aspire to lead. Servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. Servant leaders take the traditional power leadership model and turn it completely upside down. This is a new hierarchy, puts the people or employees in the top and the leader at the bottom, charged with serving the employees above them. Servant leaders shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. They also move beyond the transactional aspects of management and instead actively seeks to develop and align an employee's sense of purpose with the company mission. Here are a comparison between traditional leaders and servant leaders. The traditional leaders sees leadership as rank to obtain, while the servant sees leadership as an opportunity to serve others. Traditional uses power and control to drive performance, while the servants share power and control to drive engagement. The traditional measures success through output, while servant measures success through growth and development. Traditional speaks and servant listens. Traditional believes it's about them, while servants understand it's not about them. So, why servant leaders are emerging in healthcare? In a rapidly changing global environment, healthcare is in the eye of the storm. Forces threaten from all sides. The heart of all the cause and complexity lies the mission of healthcare to provide quality, accessible, ethical, economical, and patient-centered service. Healthy organizations are places where employees want to work and patients want to receive care. But healthy organizations, like healthy individuals, don't just happen, it takes work. Healthy work environments demonstrate organizational ecology, the equilibrium between handling immediate tasks and concerns and building systems that strengthen the organization over time. Servant leadership allows employees at all levels to be co-creator of the organization. Healthcare and servant leadership are natural, even critical partners in times of change and uncertainty. The healthcare leader's eyes must be on many things at once: quality improvement, budget, diversity and inclusion, system thinking, civility, ethics, psychological safety, succession planning, and so on. Servant leadership helps them to connect the dots to create a climate that produces results and build a culture where service is the guiding principle. Servant leadership in today's healthcare settings provides a unique venue through which to assess leadership behaviors and the relation to employee satisfaction and healthcare patient satisfaction measures. Servant leadership behaviors appears to be what healthcare organizations need to effectively lead their organizations in today's challenging times. Those are characteristics of servant leadership: listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, commitment to the growth of people, and building community. We can classify those characteristics into three main domains. The first one, relationship building actions, listening, empathy, healing, awareness. And the second one, future-oriented actions, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight. And the last domain, community-oriented actions, stewardship, commitment to growth, and building community. Listening is the ability to listen to others is the foundation to establish relations with the followers. The ability to attentively listen to others is a learned trait. Servant leaders understand that listening is meeting a need and gaining knowledge. They seek to listen receptively to what is being said and not said. Listening also encompasses getting in touch with one's inner voice and seeking to understand what one's body, spirit, and mind are communicating. Servant leaders strive to understand and empathize with others. People need to be accepted and recognized for their special and unique spirit. One must assume the good intentions to co-workers and not reject them as people, even when forced to reject their behavior or performance. Learning to heal is a powerful force for transformation and integration. One of the great strengths of servant leadership is the potential for healing oneself and others. General awareness, and especially self-awareness, strengthens the servant leader. Making commitment to foster awareness can be scary. One never knows what one may discover. Awareness helps one in understanding issues involving ethics, power, and values. Servant leaders rely on persuasion rather than positional authority in making decisions. Servant leaders seek to convince others rather than coerce compliance. Conceptualization. Servant leaders seek to nurture their abilities to dream great dreams. The ability to look at a problem or an organization from a conceptualizing perspective means that one must think beyond day-to-day realities. Servant leaders must seek a delicate balance between conceptualizing and day-to-day focus. Foresight is a characteristic that enables servant leaders to understand lessons from the past the realities of the present, and consequences of decision in the future. It's deeply rooted in the intuitive mind. Stewardship, it's personally holding yourself responsible for the success or failure of the organization, holding something in trust for another, making a positive difference in the future is characteristics of stewardship mentality. Commitment to the growth of people. Servant leaders believe that people have an intrinsic value beyond their tangible contributions as workers. Servant leaders are deeply committed to a personal, professional, and spiritual growth of each and every individual within the organization. Finally, building community. Servant leaders are aware that the shift from local communities to large institutions as the primary shaper of human lives has changed our perceptions and has caused a feeling of loss. Servant leaders seek to identify a mean for building community among those who work within a given institution. True community can be created by connecting and networking. So, what are the paradoxes of servant leadership? Servant leadership itself, a paradox, requires a constant balance. Those paradoxes, for example, great, be without pride, planned, be spontaneous, compassionate, disciplined, right, say I'm wrong, serious, laugh, wise, admit you don't know, busy, listen, strong, be open to change, leading, and serve. Here are some examples of balance. Paradoxes are not easy to balance. For example, great enough to be without pride. Team gets the credit, you get the blame. Compassionate enough to discipline. Mustn't be soft, set high expectations and follow through. Right enough to say I'm wrong. Leaders make mistakes too. Admit you are human. Wise enough to admit you don't know. Find out quickly, but don't mislead. Busy enough to listen. Be aware that the busy manager, they don't lead. What are the criteria for companies that practice servant leadership? The criteria include, first of all, openness and fairness. Those organizations must be openness and fairness. Also, they must be camaraderie and friendlessness. They give opportunities for their employees, pride in work and company. They pay and get benefits. Actually, they feel them secure or security, give them the security. What are the benefits of servant leadership? Better collaboration, stronger teams, positive work environment, employee commitment, trust and loyalty, greater organizational agility, support a culture of belonging, accelerate learning and development, foster leadership everywhere. Finally, what are the pros and cons of servant leaders? First of all, pros servant leader. Pros servant leaders. Characteristics of success are well defined, builds deeper trust-based relationships, encourages greater ownership and responsibility, encourages innovation, curiosity, and creativity, develops a people-focused culture, delivers a significant positive impact on a company performance. It's a strong method for ensuring decisions are made in the best interest of the company. By serving the employees of a company or serving the customer, a high level of internal staff growth develops future leaders, boosts morale across teams, leaders earn respect from team members, employees feel more valued and appreciated in the workplace, and finally improves pride of the work. While the cons cons of the servant leadership include: the concept can be difficult to communicate. It can be more time-consuming for leaders, can be difficult to attain. It's a constant journey rather than an end goal, requires a high level of authenticity that can be difficult to achieve. Retraining existing leaders as servant leaders can be tough and time-consuming. Some may perceive servant leaders as weak or ineffective. The formal authority of the leader may be diminished. Team members are expected to make a decision, but they may not have a strong understanding of the big picture. Different leadership styles across teams can cause confusion. Employees may not have skill to set confidence to take charge and drive business forward. Initial speed of decision making is lower due to the high team involvement. Potential for misalignment among team may be out of sync with the corporate performance management and incentive systems, and finally decrease motivation and resourcefulness if leader rescues. Finally, this is the summary of my presentation. I talked about origins of the concept of servant leader, who is the servant leader, comparison between servant leader and traditional leader, why servant leaders are emerging in healthcare, characteristics of servant leadership, paradoxes of servant leaders, criteria for companies practice servant leaders, benefits of servant leadership, pros and cons of servant leaders. Thank you for your attentive listening, and I'm here waiting for your questions. Thank you very much.